Hello fellow jewelry lovers, my name is Leslie, aka Vintage Finds Diva. Today's episode is going to be about mosaic jewelry from Italy. I've got lots of examples, so let's get started. All mosaic jewelry is made from little tiny glass tiles called Tesserae. They're mostly made in Italy, and the size of the tiles is what determines the quality of the mosaic. The smaller the tile, the better quality mosaic it is. People tend to refer to all of this jewelry as micro mosaic jewelry, and that's not correct. In fact, I used to do that myself until I actually got to see some micro mosaic jewelry, and once you see the difference in the size, you'd never make that mistake again. Here's an example of a true micro mosaic. This one is owned by the Cooper Hewitt Museum. Look how finely detailed these scenes are. A piece like this may have up to 5,000 tesserae in a square inch. So the other thing I'd like you to know is that I also used to think Pietrodura and mosaic were interchangeable. They're not. The Pietrodura is literally translated as hard stone. It's the type of jewelry where you see a stone has been cut to inlay and fit precisely in a design. In this instance, the tiles are fit together to make up the design. I hope that makes sense. As I said earlier, the tesserae are made up of little glass tiles, and those tiles are made by pulling thin glass rods out. And here's a piece where you can actually see those glass rods. So the strings on this lute are the tiny glass rods that in normal circumstances would have been cut up to make the tiles, but in this case they're using them to make the strings of the lute. Here's a pretty cross, again with flowers and leaves. The back does show some wear to the plating, and the chain really needs a lot of cleaning, but I can take care of that. And really a pretty example. Here's a pretty brooch with these posies on the navy blue background. It's a later piece, but still very pretty and very wearable, and it is simply marked Italy. It seems that there's a never-ending array of patterns. Let me zoom in. I would say that by the nature of how these are created, they're all one of a kind. Here's a newer bracelet, and you can see it's fairly crude, but pretty nonetheless. Oh, here's something missing, and this is something you want to watch out for when you're buying mosaic jewelry. Those glass tesserae can fall out, and this one, it's gone. So it's not the end of the world, it's still wearable, but you want to avoid that if possible. Here are 4 more musical instruments. So we've got a mandolin or a lute, a guitar, another lute, and a banjo. This one uses the glass rods for the strings, as does this one. I thought the patterning here was really cool. It marked Italy. Tiny little lute. The guitar. Made in Italy. mandolin or lute. Just marked Italy. Here's an older bar pin. I think it's cool with those little stars on either end. And it's got this kind of interesting safety pin type of clasp. And it is marked Made in Italy. Here's another cross. This one has little tiles that spell out Roma. I assume that this might have been something a tourist picked up. Here's an interesting brooch. It has kind of a 3D effect. I don't know if the tesserae are cut thicker or if the plaster that they're embedded into was set higher. It looks to me like they're probably cut thicker, but it certainly gives it a pretty look. This one is just marked Italy. Now I've got some interesting bracelets. I love this one with the little tiny hearts filled with flowers. Let me get that a close-up. Isn't that cheerful? Here's an older bracelet. It just has this brass piece that hooks in on this end. So, a very simple clasp. I love this one. I need to fix the clasp on the back. And this one does have a mark, made RM in Italy. So, and it looks like it had, yep, had the same cartouche on the other side. And I think that is a better piece. Here are some of my favorite brooches. This one is just lovely. All the plating's worn off the back, but I don't care. I think it's so pretty. And this one is charming as well. These tiny little posies. And one more. These cheerful daisies. I almost forgot this one, and it's just wonderful. It is a necklace, and it's very well made. And this one I think is right on the cusp of being, I think you could maybe consider this micro mosaic. I mean, look how tiny those tiles are. So I'm going to zoom back. So if you just see this from a distance, it almost looks like a little watercolor. So I'm going to put a dime out there so that you can see the scale. Here we go. So look how tiny, tiny, tiny those flowers are. I think this is gorgeous. I really love this one. One more bracelet. I'm not going to show everything today because it just gets to be a little bit of overload. But I do want to zoom in on this bracelet and let you see the details. What a cool art form. Now, let's talk about cleaning. You never ever want to put mosaic or micro mosaic jewelry into water. The tesserae are held on with a plaster or a cement that can be degraded with water, and in fact can just practically disintegrate. So what you want to do is you can take a Q-tip in a little bit of hot water with Dawn and make sure you squeeze out the water. You don't want it dripping. Make sure it's just damp. And then take the Q-tip and just lightly brush it over the surface of the tiles. You don't want to do more than that. It's getting a little bit of dirt there. I don't think this one was actually that dirty, but I did just want to show you the technique and make sure that I emphasize that you don't want this to have, dripping water on it. That would be quite disastrous. So now I use the other end in plain water with no Dawn. Again, I'm going to make sure there's no water dripping, and then I'm just going to wipe it off again. And I can see some dirt did come off, and then I'm just going to take a clean cloth and make sure that it's dry. Now, for cleaning the back, let me move these dishes and show you how I'd go about cleaning the back. I'm sure everybody watching this is already hip to sunshine cloths, but if you're not, and I wasn't for the longest time, they are a wonderful addition to your jewelry arsenal. They are a cloth that's impregnated with some sort of cleaning solution. Sunshine cloths are safe for gold, silver, brass, copper. They're not safe for plated pieces. However, if the plating is really worn and you'd just rather have the brass underneath show, you can use it for that as well. So let me show you what I do with these. So here's an earring that is pretty grubby, for lack of a better word. So I'm going to show you how I clean it up with a sunshine cloth. So here it is, cleaned up, not perfect, but not grubby either. A lot of people don't clean their jewelry at all that they have up for sale, but I always do if it's possible to clean it without harming it. I just feel a lot better about being able to show people the actual state of the piece when it's clean. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the like and or subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.